Vinyl Collection Part 11 now within this series. Really want to focus more on doing Vinyl Collection parts the next couple of weeks. For one, mainly because, you know, we're still nowhere near done. I think this marks like the quarter way mark within my collection, so we're only 25% of the way done after this is all said and uploaded. Along with the fact, too, that these videos are more easygoing for me. I mean, my work schedule is just, again, kicking me in the fucking ass so hard doing these 6-day-a-week types of schedules. It's just freaking ridiculous. So, to me, these are just more easygoing, and I just don't feel like I have the energy to do any other kinds of videos right now, especially skits. It's just, I don't have the energy to do any of that type of stuff. So hopefully you guys do enjoy videos like this. But, yeah, with all that out of the way, before we obviously get into what's going to be shown in this part, what's playing in the background is the latest full-length by Pan American Native Front, Little Turtles War. Holy hell, I am so lucky I was able to score this record right here. And I've known about this band for a while, as it's, you can just plainly see right there with the artwork, Native American themed black metal. And I guess what kind of turned me off to it for a bit was, you know, a lot of people did hype this up to just an insane degree with the debut that was released about a handful of years ago. And I thought it was decent, but nothing more after that. Then seeing the fact that it got signed to, you know, those F5 type of labels where, you know, it's like very limited runs on the physical releases that they do, and, you know, all the hype surrounding it. I was like, just fuck this, I'm not even going to bother with it. But finally giving this band another chance after this latest full length right here that came out, I believe, like around last month in February, I gotta say, I can definitely see why people really enjoy this quite a bit. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's got more of like a black metal, you know, foundation with a smidge of punk going on in there, especially in the guitar riffs and drumming on this album. But it's just overall very solid stuff. And I do like the fact that it does incorporate some of like that tribalism, I guess you could say, in terms of like the Native American heritage and themes within this album that makes it feel authentic and quite unique from your typical, you know, dime a dozen black metal albums. Back into showing an outdated format we go. So in the last part we ended with the demo by Dakhma, and today we're going to start with the full length by Dogma, this being Hamkar Atonement. This is the debut full length right here by this band, and I know they're planning on doing a follow-up real soon. It's a part of the Helvetic Underground Committee, which is kind of why, yeah, I make it quite the big deal that they're doing a follow-up, because the Helvetic Underground Committee has come to a point now where I think there's like over a dozen bands within it, so I don't know how all the guys within that group or inner circle, you know, plan out all these releases, because that just seems like such an overwhelming amount of, you know, bands and styles to keep up with. But hopefully they keep up with Dogma, because I would easily say out of all the 15 or so that they were part of, this is easily the heaviest of the group. And it's a blend of both black metal and death metal. And usually I'm not crazy when bands blend those styles together, because 9 out of 10 times it's going to just sound like, you know, another blasphemy, beherit, black witchery worship band that is just aggression, caveman riffs, and it's just like, oh, give me a break. Something just a little bit different. It just seems like such a breath of fresh air, just because so many of them just go for that extreme, you know, bestial, you know, road that it just feels like it's just a bunch of like echo chambering, how it all comes off sounding like. But Dogma blends it very well. And it's got like this ritualistic vibe going off here that makes all these riffs that are so crushing and just powerful sounding feel like, you know, there's a bit of atmosphere and density to them that just carries a bit more weight to it than it just being aggressive and caveman riffs. So Dogma crushes, and it's one of the very few Black Death bands within this series that I would recommend checking out. So it's put out through Iron Bonehead, so more than likely they got copies of it. So anyway, you have the artwork right here, which has those controversial tits, because I've lost count of how many times this the video for this on YouTube has been cut down because of that. So, I mean, hopefully it's still up when I leave links provided below. But anyway, again, you have artwork, backside track listing, and band logo. Comes on a gatefold, insert sheet with lyrics and band photo. As well too, comes with an A2 poster of basically the artwork I showed before. Double LP, but come on this white black swirl looking color, limited to 100 copies. Wow, how convenient, because next up is even more black death metal or bestial war metal, whatever you want to call it, and that would be Demir with their only EP they ever did, Triumph Through Spears of Sacrilege. So yeah, in my video of my black metal iceberg chart that I did about a month ago, a lot of people were checking this out, which I'm glad they did. I only gave it a big monologue. But for one, I'll state this. I've always called them Demir. I just think it sounds cool, but really the actual correct way to say it, from what I've been told, is Damaar. But for the sake of it, because I've always been calling them what I've called them, I'm just going to call them Demir. But anyway, Demir is a Lebanon black death metal band that formed around 2004, released this EP in 2006, and then immediately split up. And let me just state a few things, because in my black metal iceberg chart video, there's like 10% of the comments are about what I said about Lebanon. And I'll state this. 2006 Lebanon is different from today's Lebanon, okay? And I was talking about when this was released in 2006. There was a war in Lebanon in 2006. So yeah, a lot of the things I said within that black metal iceberg chart, I still stand by it, because the band still got death threats. That's a fact, alright? Whatever you say, they did get death threats. And not because they're Muslim, and I wasn't trying to paint Lebanon as like some ultra-Muslim heaven or whatever. I'm well aware that half the population as well has the Christian faith, which is why in the video I said religious fanatics. So, people, pay the fuck attention to what I say sometimes. But anyway, as for the music, I feel like I really overstayed my welcome talking about it in the Black Metal Iceberg chart, but it's awesome. It's the only, bestial war metal release I've ever heard that it's legitimate hatred, and I cannot stress that enough as to what makes it such a big selling point. Because these guys, the environment that they were living in around the time, is anything but positive. So it's genuine misery, hatred, and aggression coming from this. And it's not just, always blast beats and caveman riffs is what I really like about it. Plus, again, you have the track on here, Preaching for Mass Suicide, which, yes, it's got that, signature part where he, shouts out, "Do you wish to die?" A dozen times, which a lot of people say that, ooh, it sounds like a deathcore song, it's not that good. Well, then that's one hell of a deathcore sounding, breakdown right there, because to have just something a little bit different within, again, this whole Black Death bestial war metal sound seems so monumental when everyone else is just going for the caveman style riffs. So Damaar, however you want to fucking pronounce it, these guys fucking rule, and it sucks. This is the only thing they ever did. And one other thing I'll say too, to all the people that do own this or have the the opportunity to get it, fucking get it, because this band wants to basically forget the fact that they ever released this. There's never going to be a repress of this. This band, again, just doesn't even want to talk about it. They've like isolated themselves away from what they did back in 2006. But again, definitely check this out if you're a fan of just extreme metal. So again, you have artwork right here, backside with band logo and track listings. Comes with an inner paper with just, again, the band logo and track listings. Inner sheet with just, a little passageway. Band photo on the other side, and this is just the standard black vinyl edition of it. Well, after talking about some extreme metal in the start of this video, now we go to something completely different. That's going to be Danny Brown with his full-length Triple X. So this might confuse a bit of you guys, because right now Danny Brown alphabetized, some people might put him in the B's because of his last name, Brown. But I put him in the D's mainly because when we talk about this artist, we usually say his full name, Danny Brown. And sure, a couple of parts ago I had Johnny Cash, and he was in the C's, but you know, you could talk about Johnny Cash and still say Cash with, you know, his last name that starts with a C. That's mainly what a lot of people refer to him by, so that's just kind of how I do it, because I've noticed when people talk about Danny Brown, it's his full name. Regardless, either way, we're talking about Danny Brown, whether he was in the B's or D's. But yes, Triple X, this is the full length he put out when he turned 30, and this was the album that really exploded his popularity and really struck quite the chord within the mainstream audience. Surprisingly, too, as well, this LP is actually becoming pretty rare and hard to get, as I remember getting this at an FYE like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm seeing it on like eBay and Discogs for over $50, so I don't know why they've yet to do a repress for this, because this album is awesome. Again, it's still got the crazy, bombastic, you know, energy you'll get from a Danny Brown record, but it comes off just way more personal, especially on the outro track on here, 30, where Danny Brown almost sounds like he's like crying and moping, and his voice cracks a bit, and it's just, I don't know, it's just something you wouldn't expect from him if you are introduced by the other records within his discography, but still just an awesome record from start to finish. Tracks on here like Die Like a Rockstar, Pack Sun, Detroit 187, Blunt After Blunt, Outer Space, Party All the Time, Scrap and Die. Just overall awesome album from start to finish. There's really nothing I can complain about with it. But yeah, definitely check this out if you haven't. It's a great place to start if you want to get into Danny Brown. So you have artwork, backside, comes on a gatefold, not like there's really anything to see there, and double LP, both on plain black vinyl. The only other release I have by Danny Brown is Atrocity Exhibition. Again, another phenomenal release by Danny Brown. The big difference between this and Triple X is, whereas Triple X is more personal and a bit more moody, this is way more dark and way more experimental, and it's so much fun to listen to. Again, Danny Brown does not let up with his energy, and that's why I feel like, because of his just, you know, high energy, bombastic types of like verses and bars he'll throw at you, along with just the very abrasive percussions within this album, I feel like to an extent some of you guys who just specifically only enjoy metal can appreciate to an extent some of the instrumentation and just overall energy that comes within this album, because it's the track Ain't It Funny. That song kicks so much goddamn ass, because it's just got like this very thick, abrasive bass drum come through, and Danny just fucking goes ape shit over it. It is just such an awesome track, and I love this album from start to finish. Now, as for the packaging and layout, this was a limited deluxe vinyl edition that I got at a record store back when this album dropped in 2016. And really the only difference about it is it comes within this protected sleeve that has, you know, Danny Brown with Atrocity Exhibition over the outlines of the border. But what I really don't care for is it's not really a jacket, this LP. It just comes with that protected sleeve, and then you have the other sleeves right here with the album. So one of the sleeves obviously is the artwork of Danny Brown himself, and the other side is just Atrocity Exhibition with all the googly looking lettering. Sleeve 2, again, Danny Brown looking all happy with track listings on this side. So other than Ain't It Funny, other great tracks on here is Tell Me What I Don't Know. Really though, that has Kendrick Lamar and Earl Sweatshirt guest spots, which is fucking awesome. And Dance in the Water is a really interesting track, because it's kind of got like this Latin rock guitar riff over it, and it's just like, it's basically like Danny Brown wrote a rock song, and it's really cool. It also comes with a booklet with just, you know, abrasive looking crazy artwork and more imagery of Danny Brown, and yeah, just all crazy drug related artwork. And my LP variant comes on this semi-translucent pink vinyl, which looks honestly really cool. Next up is going to be Dance with the Dead with their album The Shape. So this is a synthwave project that I really got into around the time when I was getting familiarized with synthwave, which only lasted for about a couple of weeks I was really into this style of music, and there's really not much to say about them other than the two members behind this group used to be in punk rock bands, and they tried to bring out a lot of the punk rock and roll style of their previous band with synthwave with the project of Dance with the Dead. The only problem is that the guitar riff with any song you check out by Dance with the Dead is so overshadowed by the synthesizers that you really don't even notice it all that much, and it's not that much of a standout. They pretty much got the straightforward songwriting you would get with synthwave, just tied in with guitar riffs. There's not much to say about it. Although I will say the two tracks on here, what is it? Eyes of Madness and Her Ghost, honestly are two pretty fun and catchy tracks. And even though I'm not really crazy for this particular album, the one album I really do like by them a lot because it just made overall fun, I think it's the album before this, which is Near Dark. That album is awesome. This album, I got it because it was available for, when it just recently got pressed. And again, I haven't spun this in so long. Again, when it comes to synthwave, the only projects I really care about at this point are Carpenter Brute and Perturbator, but it's going to be quite a while until we talk about Perturbator within this series. But yeah, other than that, the layout for this is really cool because you have the artwork right here. I'm not going to sure if it's going to show, but the eyes and the moon's kind of got like a bit of spot gloss going on with it, which makes it look like it glows, which is pretty neat. Backside with track listings, single LP, and comes on this green swampy looking color, limited to 300 copies. And right back to black metal we go. Next up is Darvolia with Mystery Macabre. Yeah, it's a French black metal band that I would say overall it borrows a lot of the components with the Les Legions Noir. Like basically this is a more beefed up version of Mutilation. So if you like Mutilation but you want the riffs to just have a bit more oomph to them, definitely check out Darvolia, and that's basically all I can say about it. So other than that, this was put out through Nuclear War now, so more than likely there are still copies available of this. So you have artwork, backside, comes on a gatefold, also on a standard black vinyl, but does come with this A2 poster, once again basically of the artwork, which is identical to it. Okay, so the next three are by a, I don't know, like a math rock, hardcore band. I'm not exactly sure the exact style they try to play, but it's just overall awesome, and it's cool that they're from Providence, Rhode Island. And I was lucky enough to see them back in, I think around my birthday in 2019. Wow, it's already been 2 years, and they killed it live. And that would be Daughters. This is their sophomore album, Hell Songs. The only thing I'm missing by them, obviously, as you can tell, is the debut album, Canada Songs. But that just got a repress recently on LP and snagged that shit up right away because I've been wanting that for the longest time. Now, what's funny is if you were to check out Canada Songs, their first album, they sound like a grindcore band, just those very raspy, shrieky vocals, high energy, that has like a technical math rock edge to it, which again is very similar to that of stuff like Discordance Axis. And when you check out this full length right here, they completely changed it up. There's not any more of that grindcore aspect to them, and it's more of like a math rock, hardcore type of style going on here. I guess you could even call it mathcore. It's definitely similar to that in some aspects to the Dillinger Escape Plan, but not as crazy and all over the place. They're a bit more grounded Daughters with the hardcore elements. And this album right here, I would say out of everything they've done as of yet of the 4 full lengths, this is easily the most unorthodox. And some of it's good, and some of it I'm not really that crazy for. But it's definitely an interesting release nonetheless by them, but not the place I would start out with them. Again, this also got recently a repress too, and I think all the represses came from Hydra Head. So if you want to get any of the Daughters LPs, go to Hydra Head. So anyway, you have artwork right here, backside. Comes on a standard black vinyl, but printed in her sleeve with just credits on this side and lyrics on the other. After that, I have their best album. Again, Daughters, the self-titled. I don't care what you say, this is the best Daughters album. I'm going to sound like such an asshole saying this, but I truly believe it, that if you prefer this to be the best Daughters album, it's because you think for yourself. If you think the follow-up album, which yes I do own, which we'll talk about in a minute, which is You Can't Get What You Want, is the best Daughters album, it's because you make the needle drops tell you how to think, alright? I'm sorry, I will defend it to the day I die. This is the best Daughters album. This album is so fun. It has the most creativity I feel like they've ever done. The riffs, the energy, just the vocals, the performance, everything about this is so spot on, and I love this album so much. It's very catchy and fun, but the technicality within this album is mesmerized, but nothing wankery. To me, this is the perfect definition of mathcore, that if you want the blends of math rock, hardcore, punk, and just a smidge of grindcore laced together all just seamlessly, you need to listen to this album. It's definitely one of my favorite albums I've ever heard, that if I were to ever do like a crazy, I don't know, top 50 albums of all-time favorites, this would definitely be within that list. Again, I can't stress it enough, this album is so fucking awesome. So this is the first press right here, which as you can see, the artwork is spot glossed a bit more, so you have front and the back side of it. Standard black vinyl that is on 180 grams, and right here somewhere within this sheet, it does say, however, that it is the first press here, right at the bottom, 2010 first press right there. With the track listings, again, all of women crying for some reason. I'm not exactly sure what that's about. But what are the tracks in here I really enjoy? You got The Virgin. Which one is it? The Hit. Yeah, the track on here, The Hit. Easily my favorite track on here. The Theater Goer is really good. What else? And Sweet Georgia Brown's another great track that has a bit more of a punk edge to it. Again, just overall, it's a mixture, again, of, you know, math rock, hardcore, punk, and grindcore, and just so much just crazy twisted energy that is just such a blast to listen to from start to finish. And of course, I had the follow-up, which they were on like an 8-year hiatus for this, but this is Daughters, You Won't Get What You Want. Man, I remember when they announced the teaser for this, I was in awe, because for a lot of people, they were pretty much convinced at this point that Daughters was just going to be on this forever indefinite hiatus, and it makes it all the more difficult for them because with the self-titled, you know, they were all kind of like rooted within Providence, Rhode Island. But after this 8-year gap, a lot of the members kind of moved all over the place within the country. And there's a pretty cool documentary video on YouTube somewhere. It's only like a couple minutes long, describing like the whole process the guys had to go through in order to record this album, all being in different parts of the country now. But yeah, I would definitely say this is way more darker than the previous album. That's a little bit more similar to that of like 9 Inch Nails in some degree, and has more of like an industrial edge. So it's like they kind of brought influences of like, you know, Skinny Puppy and 9 Inch Nails together with this full length, and it's still overall very similar stuff. Because tracks on here, like, whoops, comes with a sheet, which, yeah, not much to see there. Tracks on here, like, Satan in the Wait, The Flammable Man, which is my personal favorite song, and, what is it, Less Sex, which is, like, the longest song they ever did, which is, like, I think 9 minutes long. Definitely showcases a darker tone with them, but still carries that, you know, very you know, crazy sporadic energy of, again, like blending math rock, hardcore, punk, but just more of like darker experimentation goes on with this album, and it definitely deserves all the praise that it gets. As for the layout and packaging, you have artwork right here, Backside. Gatefold, not much to see other than the track listings in the middle, which is a little odd. Insert sheet with just all the lyrics and song titles. Double LP that comes on kind of like this grayish marble color. A little past the halfway point now within this vinyl collection part, but there's only 2 more bands to talk about, and I only have 1 record by this band, that being D Magia Vitrium with the full-length Naked Swords into the Womb of the Enemy. This is one of the many side projects by Maurice, who mainly does Northern Tongues. And whereas Northern Tongues has that dark, dismal, snuff-like sounds that come from that project, D Magia Vitrium is more, I guess, avant-garde-like. That I would say if you like Bluthaus Nord, but you just want a faster, more aggressive, and harsher take of Bluthaus Nord, you'll definitely enjoy this for the most part, as there's a lot more synthesizers utilized with this album compared to the previous full lengths. Pleasantly though, I would say this is my favorite of the project's work, and I'm happy to see that I get a vinyl press, because I don't think any other records by this project have been put out on LP, so again, it was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, if you just want a harsher, faster Bluthaus Nord, you'll definitely dig this. But yeah, other than that, you have artwork right here, backside with all the track listings. Comes with an insert sheet of very macabre looking like artwork, and other side with the Priest of Satan, and just comes on standard black vinyl, limited to I think 300 copies, and I think on the Bandcamp it's still available. Okay, all that's left now is 1 band, and we're only going through like half of the stuff I have by this band, so the next part will contain the other half of all the material I have by them. And that would be the Gods Among Men within avant-garde black metal, thus being Despel Omega with their sophomore album, Inquisitors of Satan. I don't have the debut full-length right now, which is Infernal Battles, because I refuse to buy the repress artwork for the debut. It is so butt-fucking ugly that I can't buy it. But I do have, however, Inquisitors of Satan, which this is the repress artwork, which, yeah, I mean, this is still ugly and not really that much to look at, but again, the first press of Inquisitors of Satan go for like $400 if you're lucky, and I know even the first press of Infernal Battles goes for ridiculous money, but again, I can't stress it enough. I hate the artwork so much of the repress they did. But yeah, Inquisitors of Satan isn't really the Despel Omega sound we know of as today, as it's just more stripped down, straightforward, you know, aggressive, right to the point black metal that is really similar to that of, you know, everything you kind of know of what black metal would sound like. I mean, it's nothing that much of a standout that, yeah, if Despel Omega carried out this style to today, I don't think people would appreciate them or know them for how they are now, because it's not really anything all that special. That being said, however, it's not terrible, and you're going to notice that a lot of people that talk down on these albums, the first 2, Infernal Battles and Inquisitors of Satan, are the people who like modern day Despel Omega, because they look at this as it's boring, nothing really all that special. And I wouldn't go so far to say that. I mean, if you like black metal, just basic black metal, yeah, you'll like this. But is it anything to just rave about? No, not really for the most part. But, I mean, it's solid enough as it is. So again, this is the repress put out through, I believe, End All Life Productions did the represses for this, I think, which are, again, just different artwork, which I'm not crazy for. So you have the artwork right here of the repress. Backside with just the track listings at the bottom. Comes with this thick paper with the logo and just artwork on the other side, and just standard black vinyl. Then I have this compilation right here of Despel Omega, that being Manifestations 2002. Just all unreleased tracks of stuff they did around that time period. So again, it's not the experimental avant-garde style just yet. It's still a more stripped down, straightforward suit and tie style of black metal that Despel Omega did for the first, like, 4 or 5 years that they were active. That's just overall decent stuff. Really got to be a collector's scum with this band. Put out through Northern Heritage, so they still have copies available there. So you have this artwork of that Lovecraftian kind of like Cthulhu looking type of shit. Backside again, just with the track listing at the bottom. Once again, another thick paper with the band logo and artwork, which is identical to that of the previous record I just showed. So I'm pretty sure actually maybe Northern Heritage did the represses for the first two albums, so get them there actually. Next up is their third full-length, C Monumentum. I try not to say this saying a lot because it loses its impact when you toss around it, but I stand by this 100% that this is an album way ahead of its time of its release back in 2004, that really it turned black metal itself on its fucking head. Because how I look at it, breaking down the time frame of black metal, you look at the late 80s with proto-black metal, or first wave black metal, however you want to call it, stuff like Bathory, Sarcophago, Celtic Frost, that had more of like a thrashier heavy metal take on the style. Then it kind of evolved in a way with second wave black metal, with Norwegian, the whole Norwegian black metal scene, the Swedish black metal scene, and even the Finnish black metal scene that gave that raw atmosphere that a lot of bands kind of, take a lot of influence from with the second wave black metal scene. And around, I want to say like the late 90s and early 2000s, black metal wasn't really being that much experimented on other than the style of industrial. Like you look at stuff like Mysticum, Thorns, early Unknown Throck. It was around like the late 90s and early 2000s that they capitalized more on like that cyber futuristic style to black metal, and kind of like with the whole Y2K stuff. But right here with Despel Omega's C Monumentum in 2004, it was completely, out of the blue, that really just shook things up all for the better. Really experimenting black metal to a whole new dimension, I feel like. And without giving this too much of praise and dick riding it too much, yeah, you can say that it takes a lot of influence from Gorguts with that whole dissonant technical style, yeah. And I will admit too, it's not their best album, as they didn't quite stick the landing with the execution, as some of the crazy vortex and technical guitar riffs in this album are a bit sloppy for the most part. But I feel like during its release date around the time of 2004, it was mind-blowing for its time, I feel like. And even though this album is a little over an hour long, there's a lot to enjoy with it. And it really kind of created the whole dissonant black metal sound that, again, I know I always say it, so many bands try to copy but fail miserably at it. This is also the first album that was confirmed where Mikko Aspa takes vocals with this band. And what's funny about that is this was known back in 2004, and for the past 15 years people gave Despel Omega with C Monumentum, Fast Ite, and Paracletus just loads and loads of compliments the way I just did. You can find so many reviews out there giving it just such godlike a praise. And then it took people 15 years to realize how Mikko Aspa was being a part of this band when it was confirmed for just one time with this full length might be a problem. So you people look like fucking hypocrites. But anyway, with the music of Despel Omega, C Monumentum, it's fucking awesome. This has been repressed so many times, and you can get this easily in so many distros. So you have the artwork right here of like this, I guess, baby-looking Satan with the world right around it. Backside with track listings. Comes on a gatefold with all the lyrics and stuff. Double LP that come on plain black vinyl, but also as well A2 poster of the artwork. Finishing up here with this video, second to last up is an EP, and some other people call it a full length. It's always been disputed on it. Regardless, this is Despel Omega once again with Kenosis. This, I would say, they definitely beefed up their sound rather quickly, as I believe this release only came out like a year or two after C Monumentum, and it sounds more like a really harsh, technical, blackened grindcore release than a black metal release, as this album just sounds angry and twisted and very jagged but it's awesome, and they really, I think, perfected more on their execution with that vortex style of riffs that they would later be known for so greatly with future releases. But yeah, for the most part, I would say it's an EP, and again, some people even call it a full length, as I think this release is a little around half an hour plus long, but regardless, still awesome stuff, and had to get this to add to my Despel Omega collection. Again, just like C Monumentum, you can get this in so many different distros. So you have this weird looking artwork right here, backside with more artwork. Standard black vinyl, but all Despel Omega releases are on black vinyl with this humongous booklet. I think it's got like 64 pages of all weird looking abstract artwork along with lyric passageways and stuff like that. It's not credited as to who did this artwork, but I'm pretty sure, from what I've been told, the vocalist of Savart, Savest, did all the artwork for all of this. Last record for this part is once again Despel Omega with Fast Ite. Yes, the next part will have the other half of my Despel Omega collection, but we stop here with Fast Ite, this being their 4th full length, and once again they improved their songwriting to just god-like material that I know in my video that I did for my top 25 favorite black metal releases, I was debating as to putting either Fast Ite or Paracletus as my favorite, but Paracletus just inches out Fast Ite, but make no mistake about it, this album is absolutely incredible and deserves the word masterpiece tagged on with it, because these riffs are just so complex, but are just, again, so mesmerizing and fucking powerful that it's equivalent to capturing lightning within a bottle and just riding off the energy of it. It's just awe-inspiring hearing just the technicality and just musicianship that comes with the Despel Omega albums from the mid to late 2000s. They always leave me in just such awe, and Fast Ite definitely showcases everything I just said tenfold, basically. But yeah, this album right here, another great stellar release within the Despel Omega catalog. So you got artwork, backside, comes on a gatefold, comes with an A3 poster, which I don't really care for this poster because it's always fucking fat and hard to frame, but again, of the artwork, which is pretty neat. Comes also with a booklet with lyrics and everything, with artwork to go along with it, which is really neat, and just on a standard black vinyl. That'll do it for this vinyl collection part. Like always, links provided to everything I talked about will be in the description below. And yeah, that is that. So like always, guys, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.